My name is Cassie McKinnon, and this is my presentation of my field experience. I completed my hours at USU Equine Experience. This facility is located in Wellsville, Utah. It is a nonprofit organization that is backed by Utah State University with additional funding from grants, sponsors, and donations. There are currently 15 horses that are used in the program and 4 staff members that run it all. However, there are so many wonderful volunteers that come out and help and keep this facility afloat. There are also a few positions that are paid for through the AmeriCorps organization. Many programs are offered at USU Equine Experience. They offer Right at Ability, Pathways to Horsemanship, Heroes on Horses, and the Reading Corral. So one of the major things that I learned was that there is so much that goes into the behind the scenes before you can even enter the arena with your riders. There's paperwork that needs to be done to cover you legally and medically. There's training of horses that needs to be done to get them used to scary objects. We use bubbles and hula hoops and pails, and they need to be calm with all sorts of situations. The lesson plan is crucial to the success of a lesson, and before you start your lesson, the arena needs to be groomed and cleaned up so that there's no hazards on site, and you need to set up your pattern and whatever other obstacles you will be using in your lesson that day. As well as you need to coordinate your volunteers to make sure that everyone knows where they need to be and when and how to do their job the most effectively. I love this quote by Brad Stevens. He is the head coach of the Boston Celtics, their basketball team. And he said, "You do 99% of your work behind the scenes, and when the game comes around, hopefully you can perform with a feeling of being well prepared. That's really all I can do." And I can say that goes for teaching a lesson as well. So right here, I just included an example of a lesson plan that I created. This is really what I like to call a blueprint for success. If you can go through a lesson plan and really hash out all the details, and you know what you're doing and how you're going to do it and why you're going to do it, and that will help you be more fluid in your lesson and be the most efficient. Another big thing that I learned was never forget a safety check. This is actually kind of a funny personal story. I was training a horse that we were preparing to use in session, and I was riding along and everything was great, and I went to shift my saddle because I felt it getting a little crooked, and when I did so, I had not checked the hook that the stirrup leathers go on, and my stirrup slipped off the back, and my momentum from shifting in the seat just took me all the way over. So I had to go through that, I guess, to learn to always check your hooks right there, and especially check your girth. Make sure it's tight, that our riders will not fall underneath their horses. You need to check their headgear, make sure that everything is fastened correctly and is tight enough but not too tight. So during the summer, we had a group rotation that would come in. They were options, DSL, and chrysalis. And there are some pros and cons to having big groups come in. One of the pros that really stood out to me was being able to reach a large group of individuals and to use that for community engagement. We had so many people coming in every week, and they were different people every week, and it was really nice to affect so many lives in what we do in such a short amount of time. But some of the cons were that there were more people attending than we had agreed upon with the groups, and so that made it kind of hard to balance when people would show up and you don't have anything for them to do, and so you just kind of shuffle around and go with the flow and hope it all works out. And another big problem that we ran into is paperwork issues. Some of the participants that came and wanted to be actively involved in it couldn't because their paperwork wasn't filled out completely or correctly. The first group that I taught by myself was one of the options groups, and I had 3 participants. It was a ground-only activity, and they learned how to groom and lead and clean stalls and identify horses by colors and marking. And I loved this opportunity, but I think the greatest thing that I learned was how to teach to what they could relate to. I had one girl in the group that she was very statistically minded. She liked being taught using data and hard facts, and I had another girl that liked things to be fun and entertaining, and I really learned the concrete thinking versus an abstract thinking point of view. I also taught a session of writability. During writability, we teach 3 sessions per day, 5 days a week, and there are 2 to 3 writers in each session. I had 2 writers in mine, and we really focused on horsemanship skills. So we went over the go and whoa, direct reining, 2-point straightness, reining backwards, and one concept that I kind of drew up was a clock method for correct shoulder placement. I had my participants pretend that there was a clock on their shoulders, and if they could wind the clock by rolling their shoulders, I would say that we would go around and do 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, on, and I would remind them to keep their shoulders at 4 o'clock. So I'd have them go till 4 and then stop, and that was an easy way to remind them of where their shoulders need to be. I would just say 4 o'clock, and they'd all put their shoulders exactly where they needed to be. This was one of my favorite little riders. I really grew to learn a lot about myself through working with this participant. He came in really not wanting to interact, not wanting to get involved. He was really tired, and as I learned that I was doing that as a college student, and he was feeding off of that, and so I really needed to learn to be accountable for myself. So the biggest lessons I learned is the first go is rough. You're going to have bumps and bruises along the way, but you'll figure it out. I learned more about myself than anything else. I learned that skilled volunteers are worth their weight in gold because you just can't teach horse sense if they don't have it. And I learned to expect the unexpected with people coming that weren't supposed to be there. I learned to take care of your horses, and they'll take care of you. If you're patient and quiet with them, they'll give you all they've got. And I learned that I loved it more than I ever thought I would. I love the kids, and I love these horses, and I love that this is a job that gives me the opportunity to do both. Thank you.